Aw, shit. Here we go again.
Welcome to the Sloppy Book Club podcast. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Celese. And we are on, what a tongue twister, obviously. We're on episode 6.
Oh my God.
Already started.
Already.
Right. I feel like every episode, that's how I start. So we are on episode 6.
Yes.
So of season 2. I don't think we mentioned that last episode that we were on season 2. If you can
Wild.
I know.
Wild.
But yeah, we're on season 2. So welcome back to our listeners that have been with us since season 1. If you are new, welcome. Grab a drink, get comfortable. We are full of shenanigans. I'm crazy.
I thought you were going to say we were full of shit. That's like
I wouldn't say that. I would say we're just full of shenanigans. We're always laughing. We're always flipping over and doing crazy things. So, grab a chair, get comfy, get your favorite drink, whether it's water, coffee, or a nice alcoholic beverage, your choice. No judging. But yeah, so we're on episode 6 of season 2. This is gonna be a fun episode. We're gonna do some hard ciders. We're gonna be trying some hard ciders. We're gonna do some genre book recs, and then I have a romance that I kind of want to talk about. And Jenny has a dark fantasy that she's going to be reviewing and talking about. Surprise. And surprise with me.
Right?
Like always some type of romance book. I don't know. I love love. So, and this one is very interesting. So I can't wait to talk about it, because obviously romance stories always, happy ending towards the end. But the way they got there and just like the premise of the story, super interesting. So I hope it's something no one's ever heard of, because I know I never have. So it should be interesting, hopefully.
Okay.
All right, let's get into these ciders. You want to start us off, Jenny?
Yes. So just in time for the fall season, I have Eden. It's a Vermont ice cider, and it's a honey cider. And I got this at the Big E. Jesus Christ, I can't speak.
Not only me.
Not only you. It's this huge fair here in Massachusetts.
Yes.
It smells really good.
One of the biggest out here. They have tons of vendors. There's rides for kids and a ton of food. Is it good?
This is absolutely delicious.
Okay, I'm super upset because I know I had.
You should have got one.
Exactly.
You should have got one. So we go to the Big E together every single year.
Yeah.
With our husbands and friends, and we both saw this wine or cider, this little stand there, and I'm the only one who got it, and it is fucking good. And look, this is like a 2-glass thing. This isn't gonna last long.
No.
So I can't share. Sorry.
Good. I had a feeling it would be good.
Oh, it's
so
delicious.
Is it like sweet? Is it crisp? Is it very apple-y?
There's sweetness with a little crisp. You can definitely taste like the honey, and it's smooth.
Nice.
Like you can feel how smooth it is. So good.
Oh, I'm jealous. I knew it. So last year around this time, I was pregnant, so I was doing a lot of mocktails kind of things, and we had a Friendsgiving, and we bring tons of different drinks and foods and stuff. And one of the things that people were bringing was the Sinful Angry Orchard hard ciders.
Who brought that?
I don't remember. I feel like it might have been Charisse. I feel like she brought the hard ciders. So I never got to try it. And I was just like, this year I will, because it's, fall vibes, a hard cider. I love hard ciders. So just try.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, that tastes like biting into apple pie.
Nice.
It's very cinnamony.
I can't remember if I tried that.
Oh yeah, I could drink that all day. Yeah, that's awesome. Obviously, I wouldn't. This is definitely a lot of cinnamon. It's sinful.
Oh my God.
Legit what it says. Oh my God. I didn't make that up. I'm not that cool. But yeah, this is definitely great for the fall. Obviously, I wouldn't do it like in the summertime or anything, but this is really good. It tastes like an apple pie, legit apple pie.
Win-win.
Yep, definitely. You have something good to drink. I have something good to drink. For the past 2 podcasts, we've gotten some really good drinks. That last one, Angel liked it, and then he didn't like it. So he's on the fence.
Mike didn't try it. So
yeah, I had him as soon as we were like done. I was like, try this. He was like, ooh, that's good. But then he felt like that little burning sensation. Like, I don't like that.
No.
At first he was undecided. So he's like up in the air with it. But I loved it. I thought it was delicious.
So good.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's get into these genre book recommendations. So we have a list of different genres, and then we decided to pick like our favorites. I'm eager to see which ones are the same for us. So we're just doing the genre, the book title, and the author, correct?
Yep. We're not going to go into it. It's just a book that we feel we would recommend to anybody who says, give me a book in this genre.
Yeah. Perfect.
It was really hard, by the way.
It really
to narrow it down to one.
Yeah. So when we're planning things, we usually, text each other like, oh, we should do this or that. And Jenny came up with this one. And as soon as she said it, I was just like, fuck.
Yeah.
Do I know that many genres? Am I like around, do I read around? And it was super hard. And then, if there's a genre like romance that I really like, I'm like, what do I pick? Do I go to my all-time favorite, or do I try to do what was my favorite this month kind of thing? So actually for romance, it's my favorite so far this month.
Okay.
Yeah, so it should be interesting. All right. So the first one was, let's shoot with new adult or adult fantasy.
New adult or adult. That is going to be E.J. Mello's Musai series.
And that's what I have.
That's our girl.
That is. We love her so much.
So that's Song of the Forever Rains and Dance of a Burning Sea, and they're both out right now. And usually on Kindle Unlimited too. So if you have Kindle Unlimited, you're able to get those books fairly easy. So I've had them on my Kindle, like, we read it a long time ago, but I've had them on my Kindle and they were taking up space. You have to like return it.
Yes.
I ended up just buying them. So now I have them on ebook. I have audiobook and I have the physical copy.
I have not returned them. They're still on mine.
Oh my God, just buy them. I think they're literally like 99 cents right now.
Are they? Oh, I might as well just buy it then.
Just buy them.
Yeah. I don't want to give them up because sometimes, I'm that type of person that stories replay in my mind. So I have to read certain parts over. And she's one of those. So sometimes I'm like, I don't want to give that up. No, you can't have it back.
Which book do you like better?
I tend to go back. I know this is going to be crazy. I tend to go back to book 1 because that's like.
I knew you were going to say that. It's more romancy.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's something about them. I love their story, and I don't know. It's
that's the more romantic
was like,
one. That's why.
Like she's a great writer. And it was before book 2 came out, so I read that one more often than book 2 for sure. And I already know your answer.
Everybody knows my answer because I won't shut up about it. So Dance Over Burning Sea is my favorite. And I didn't read them till like book 2 came out. I think you recommended book 1. I read it and book 2 was already out. So then I jumped to it right away. And that was my absolute favorite.
Before I did. which was funny. You were like, oh, book 2 is out. And like, I was just like, oh, I'll get to it. And then you were like, no.
I was on it. Like,
and then we did our episode on it, and I hadn't finished it yet. I had started it, but I didn't finish it at that point. So you didn't want to give too much away. And I'm so happy you didn't, because it was amazing.
Perfect.
It was so perfect that I'm like so sad that book 3 is coming out in February, and I have bittersweet like feelings about it, because I love her series. I love how she drew inspiration from her sisters. I just love everything about it.
We could literally talk for a whole nother episode about it, but I don't think we should.
One day,
I don't think we should today.
Mellow like episode all about her, like our love for her. She's super supportive of us, and we support her. And she actually gave us her arcs, and we are so thankful for that. So EJ Mello, if you happen to listen to this episode, thank you so much. We love you. And it comes out on my too.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, cute. All right. Young adult fantasy.
For me, I have the Shadow and Bone series by Leah Bardot. I absolutely love her. Did I say it wrong? Did I say it wrong? What is it?
Lee Bardugo.
So confident.
Yes, you were. Mind you, Celeste, you have read this series probably multiple times. You recommended it to me. We did a whole 2 months worth of reading these books because of you and watching the show. And you called her Leah Bardot.
It's not. What is it again?
Okay. Whew. Lee Bardugo.
Bardugo. I think it's the way I spelled it, because I didn't use her. I spelled it myself.
That was great. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. Oh. I'm so sorry. God. And like Jenny said, I amped this series up. Yeah, I had all our friends read it. I had my husband watch the show. Yes. I had my father watch the show. That's how invested I was. And I butchered the author's name.
You did.
I apologize.
I'm not surprised you did. You know,
anyone who's been listening to us long enough knows, I'm just bad at names. And it's not for the lack of trying. And I don't do it disrespectfully. I'm just really bad with names.
And it's hilarious.
But yeah, it's Shadow and Bone. I love it.
That's a great recommendation. I decided to go with, because it's more recent and it's still in my head, The Name Bearer by Natalia Hernandez. Such a good one. It's a queer fantasy. And I loved it. So good.
You have a bajillion copies of it, don't you?
No, that's not that one. That's another one.
That's the other one.
When We Make It.
Yes. Okay.
I have 4.
The Name Bearer one is the one where it's a green and
she's got flowers all around her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember. So my next one for YANA contemporary romance, or just contemporary? I forget what it was. I think it was
contemporary. It could be anything, like romance, just not fantasy sci-fi, just a regular normal book.
So I have Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. Okay. I'm trying not to butcher these names now.
I have the same one. And not really sure if it was new adult or young adult because of how the story plays out. Right. But I have the same one for that genre.
That one was one of my favorite reads.
Yeah.
For this past, we read it during the summer.
We did.
And I love that book. I really enjoyed that
book. I did too. And I wouldn't say it's like one of my top reads, only because it's not my genre that I would normally read. So for me, it's not as exciting, but the book was fucking great. Yeah. Like it was a great, great book.
Yeah.
I'm happy I read it. Yeah.
Next is romance. So if and I'm surprised you have one for romance because you don't read romances a lot. So my romance is actually a current romance that I recently read that I really, really enjoyed. And I can't wait to talk about it on this episode, actually.
Nice. Okay.
Is The Soulmate Equation by Christinalauren. Couldn't butcher that. The Soulmate Equation. So I actually adored this book. I really, really liked it. It's so romancy, tropey, like it got it all. It got it all. So
all right.
I can't wait. It has it all without too much spice, believe it or not.
Oh,
which is surprising for me.
I probably wouldn't like it then.
No, because it didn't have like explicit romance scenes. And you know me, I love a nice, like spicy book. And it wasn't very explicit. It wasn't very detailed, but I'll go more into it later.
Okay.
But yeah. The Soulmate Equation. Loved it.
Okay. My romance is like one of like 5 because I don't read romance like that. Is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke Emezi. And I liked it because it was messy and spicy.
Messy and
spicy. I loved awesome. It. It was and the writing was the main part. That was why I really liked it. It was good.
Awesome. That's great. Okay, next is sci-fi. And mine was Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. And I read this, I want to say a few months ago. I feel like it was in like September-ish or maybe early October. And this was the one where the mom kept going back into time to stop her son from committing a murder.
Okay.
I think we briefly talked about it.
I remember you posting about it.
And that was really good. So I'm
surprised that's what you picked for your sci-fi.
Yeah, that one.
And not Ice Planet Barbarians.
That's because it's coming up.
Oh, sorry. All right, next. My sci-fi is The Very Mates by Elizabeth Stevens. And that's the whole alien smutty book.
Nice.
That's good. Yeah.
Next is horror or goth, thriller or suspense. And mine is more like suspense. And it's Verity by Colleen Hoover. I always tell people go into it blind. My sister actually finished it a few weeks ago. And she called me right away and she was like, Celeste! She loved it.
Awesome.
We were able to talk about it. I love when people read it and then you're able to talk about it because it's definitely a book you have to go in blind. Yeah. Don't read about it. Don't look it up. Don't ruin it for yourself. If you hear anyone say, oh, Verity, Colleen Hoover, great book, close your ears and go get it. Like,
just go get it.
It was so good. That's definitely like a great rec.
That's one book that when people, because I got like, it's probably like 15 people at work to read it. Mm-hmm. Every time someone new, like I just had a new coworker start, she asked me, oh, so recommend something because she doesn't ever read. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing I always recommend to people. Mm-hmm. And there's only one person I know that hated the book.
What?
Hated. It was like a bad, awful, hate the book. Yeah. One person out of like the 15 to 20 people that I've recommended it to. One person.
How can you hate it? Oh, I need details.
I was offended.
Off camera.
I was like, oh God. That's the one book I recommend camera. And you're telling me you hate it.
Right. No.
Because that's
off camera.
That's one. I will. That's one book that like no matter what genre you read, that's the one book that you're gonna like that's outside of your genre.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
that's why I always recommend it. But that's not the book that I chose for that genre. The one I picked was a gothic horror, A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. Because
that's so good. That's such a good one.
So good. I love it, love it, love it. We spoke about it in an episode sometime, I don't even know when.
And I butchered that name too.
Yeah, you did. Constanza.
Yep,
Constanza. Oh God. What next?
I butchered a couple names in that one.
Yeah, I think Magdalena. That was her name, Magdalena.
I think I called her Magnolia or something like that.
Oh my God. That is hilarious. I got the new version of that book, and I still haven't read it. I haven't
gotten the new one, but I did see it at a bookstore, and it made my heart so big because I'm
like it's such a good gothic horror. It's perfect.
Definitely. It was greatly written. It's short and sweet, nothing too crazy. It didn't need it. Like, it was just a good book.
Yeah.
And then up next is Smut. And that's where I put my Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. Because if you're going to do smut, you got to do sci-fi smut. And it has to incorporate like...
Tales,
yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
And just a lot of good language that you wouldn't
you need a glossary for,
or your grandma,
Yes.
I
agree.
And if you're gonna do smut, you gotta do smut. You gotta be like looking over your shoulder, get red in the face when someone's like, "Oh, what are you reading?" Like that kind of smut. Okay. So if you want to get red in the face, make sure no one's reading over your shoulder. Ice Planet Barbarians. It's so many of them. You would love it. Ruby Dixon. Thank you.
Okay. I picked Sierra Simone, the Priest series. There's 3 of them. They're all standalones, but the characters are all kind of related. And this is definitely one you don't want anyone reading over your shoulder. And I recommend reading or listening it to an audiobook.
Really?
Yep. I read it and I did the audiobook, and the audiobook is so good. Like, it was next level. Like,
I would be so scared to listen to that.
Yep. It was perfection.
I would be like, did you hear that? Did you hear that? I have young children running around.
I know, but it's definitely worth it. The writing was so freaking good in every single one of those books. The story was good, and the smut overall was the best that I've read.
Really? Awesome. I'm going to have to. Now that you say it, I'm going to have to.
I know. I don't know why you haven't.
I don't know.
And they're so short, too.
Time. I need more time.
I know. Well, audiobook.
Oh, true. I got children, young children.
No, but
that are nosy. Mommy, what you listening to?
Oh yeah, no, they can't do that.
Exactly. Or what if I go to put it on, because we have the Beats headphones. I don't have AirPods, and I put it on the wrong headphones. Like, I would be mortified.
Oh my God. I would die. I would seriously die.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, you can't.
When you're like Bluetoothing it and you press the wrong headset, like I would die.
God. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
And then you had one more.
Did I?
Yeah, wasn't it like?
Oh, we were gonna do Dark Academia.
I have none. I've never like really delved into it, but I really wanted Jenny to share hers just because she has. So as a book rec for anyone who's looking for that kind of genre, Jenny's your girl.
So we have Ninth House by Lee Bardugo. And it's actually set around what's the school? Yale. So that's what makes it Dark Academia, and it's supernatural kind of suspense. It's really good.
And isn't she coming out with book 2 for that series?
Yes. It's called Hellbent. I wasn't sure if she was going to come out with book 2 because the end, yes, there was a cliffhanger, but it seemed like the book that wasn't going to have a second. So I wasn't sure. And then she announced it and I was super excited. So can't wait to read it.
Yep. And I'm over here just butchering her name. I apologize. And
you really said Leah Bardot. I'm never going to get over that. Ever.
Thanks.
I hope we meet her one day so I can tell her.
No! I would be mortified. I would just cry.
Oh my God.
I'm like, please don't listen to our podcast, season 2, episode 6.
I'm going to send her the link directly to this episode with a timestamp.
Meanie. So mean. All right, let's get into these book reviews. So I have a romance, and if you don't mind, I'll just go first.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so I have my romance, and it's The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. I actually got this book off of TikTok. I happened to come across her name is Gabby Roberts, and she was doing a TikTok on the list of like book tropes, like her go-to book tropes. Like she would, stand on a hill and fight for the rest of her life, just like a list of book tropes. And I was just like, yes, this is an awesome list. So she had forbidden romance as one. She had best friend's brother as one, forced proximity, fake relationships, and bachelor auctions, which I've never heard of. So as soon as I heard that, I was just like, do you have any recommendations for these bachelor auctions? And so she mentioned the Soulmate Equation. She said it had those vibes for it. I still don't know exactly what that is. But I was intrigued. Have you ever heard of that kind of
bachelor auction? No.
Yeah. I was thinking of like a not fake dating, but like a charity event kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what comes to mind when I think of it.
Auction off kind of thing. Well, that didn't happen in this book, but I, like I said, thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay.
Because of it was outside of anything I read before when it came to like these dating kind of booky romances, like the fake dating kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So basically this book centers around Jessica, or Jess, as she calls herself. And she's a single mom, almost 30, who's a data and statistics analyst. And she hasn't dated in over like 7 years. She really dedicated her life to just being a mother and being a good mother because her mother wasn't good, So she always in the back of her mind is like, I don't want to be like my mom. I have to make sure I'm always present in my daughter's life because my mother never was, her mother was an addict, in and out of her life. And she was raised by her grandparents. So she was just focusing on being a mom, and you can't fault her for that. So, the dating pool nowadays are dating apps. So she finally decides to go on a date, and obviously it's not great. So she's like, I don't need to date again. I'll just, whatever happens, happens. She spends most of her days while her daughter's at school working. She basically can work from anywhere because she does like statistics and analyzes shit for different companies and things like that. So she works out of a cafe shop near where she lives, free Wi-Fi, unlimited coffee, blueberry muffins. I mean, who would say no? And she gets to work alongside her best friend, Felicity, or Fizzy as she calls her, and her best friend is a romance novelist. She writes romance books. be my best
Perfect.
friend. Be my best friend. So basically, you know, her friend is like, you need to get out there. Just because you had like one bad, I think she went on Tinder. One bad Tinder date, you know, you still have to put yourself out there.
So is that like the bachelor auction type connection?
Maybe.
Because you are like looking at bachelors pretty much.
Okay, so it must be the dating app thing.
Yeah. I think that's so far that's what I get.
That makes sense, because lo and behold, the barista that they know, I think his name was Daniel. He was like, oh, you know, Americano. This is this guy that they call, he's like a business guy, always serious, brooding, you know, you can tell like he's an asshole, whatever. And they call him Americano because he comes into the coffee shop, same time, orders the same thing. And like, you can't not look at him. That's how good looking he is. So the barista is like, oh, Americano actually is starting his company is going to be having a starting soon, where he came up with this new dating app where it takes your like DNA, your genetics, and runs it through a system, and that's how you're matched, like your compatibility is matched through your DNA. And like there's different levels. There's the, I guess, base match, which is just like anything between like, I think it was 18 and 23 points out of 100, you know. And then you have your gold, then you have your titanium, and then there's diamond. And diamond is like that 1 in a million. But you can get married off of your base match, you know, like they're not like the highest score, but there's compatibility there. There's probably some compromising that you would do. And then obviously diamond match is like, that's your soulmate, basically. So he's starting this company that's doing it. And so he comes in one day and just sporadically like starts, you know, talking to him or whatever. And she was like, oh, are you really the guy who's gonna, you know, start a new dating app or whatever? And he at first he's like, why are you touching me, kind of thing, because she caught him off guard. And he's like, yeah, I am. You should stop, you and your friends should stop by and, you know, give us a sample, whatever, and you could be put in the system. And then when we fully start the company, you know, you would already be there. But there's already been over like hundreds of thousands samples. So you can still make connections now and not necessarily have to wait until, I think they were going to start it up in May for the public, where you buy your kit and then it's through your DNA, and it's through your spit. It's not blood. So it's basically like
good.
No, but like at first when I think DNA, I thought blood. I'm like, oh my God, you got to give your blood. But no, it's like your spit. Like if you were going to find out, you know, your race and ethnicity and all that jazz kind of thing. So it's basically like that. So you buy a kit, whatever. So they wind up going, she overhears him talking about her a little bit. And he's like, oh, she's just average or whatever. She was like, motherfucker. More than average kind of thing. Right. She's like, he's so rude. She hates him. She runs into him a couple of times after that, and he's just an asshole. Like, what the one time that she ran into him, he took her parking spot and fucking closed the elevator on her when she was like, wait, and he claims that he didn't hear her and stuff. So he's just an asshole.
Yeah.
And so on one of her, and her best friend is like, oh, just take the kid at home, and you know, when you're, you know, when you want to, you can put it in. Her friend did it right then and there. She was like, yeah, give me all the dates or whatever. Her friend was all for it.
It's always the friend.
You can base your range like, oh, I just want best matches, or you can get it where you can only get matched if you're at a gold compatibility. So her friend made the range so like big that she was getting hit after hit on her app. And she was going on these dates knowing that according to compatibility, they wouldn't really be compatible. But she was just like, the sex would be good though, because of the compatibility. So Jess was just like, no, I'm not gonna do it. But then she had like a really hard day with like her daughter, and just shit was just falling apart. So it was like a spur of the moment kind of thing. You know, she sent her DNA off and she put it for like the highest criteria, and she was just like, whatever, like I'm never gonna get pinged or whatever. Well, she did. And she opens up her app and it's red, and her friend was like, well, anytime I got pinged, it would be green. She was like, I wonder what that means. And then the app sent her a message like, please contact the facility, whatever. She was like, that's weird. Maybe I did it wrong, or they couldn't find any matches for me. And so she finally goes in, and they're like, no, you were matched, and you were matched with a 98% compatibility, which our highest that we've ever recorded was a 93. So you have a diamond match. So this is like soulmate status. And it's with Americano.
Figures.
Who is the, you know, he created this, you know, he spent years perfecting this, you know, DNA compatibility, all this stuff. And of course, he's shocked, and they're both like, what the fuck? She's like, I don't like him. He obviously doesn't like me because I'm average. Like, she even pointed that out, that he said that. He was like, well, that wasn't for you to hear. And so of course she's like very skeptical. She's like, oh, this can't be right. You guys did something wrong with your, you know, analyst or whatever. So of course she's like in denial about it, but the company is like, we're going to launch in May. You guys are a diamond. He's the creator. This will be great for the launch. Mm-hmm. How about you guys, you know, try and date, like go on a few dates, talk, you know, get to know each other. And if obviously it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but, you know, give it a chance, because this, you know, the company's looking at it as this would be like great publicity for them. And she had recently lost one of her big investors for her company, you know, her statistic analyst company, whatever. One of her jobs, she actually lost it, so she wasn't going to be making enough money. So they were like, oh, we'll compensate you for your time so that you don't have to work as often, so you can make time to go on these dates and, you know, do the magazines and the newspaper articles and all this stuff. So she was like, at first she was like, you're going to pay me to date him?
That's exactly what I was just thinking.
Yeah. She was like,
that's kind of weird.
Very ethical. You know, I don't want people to assume like I'm only doing this for money. She was like, if we're going to do it, I want, you know, one, I don't want my daughter involved in any way, shape, or form. So you can't mention like, you know, I have a daughter at home. Like if, you know, the press happens to come upon that information, you know, you can't keep everything hidden. But for the most part within the company, she said, you're not going to use my daughter as a pawn. She was just like, you know, I'll okay a couple, you know, dates here and there, but she's not promising anything. And I keep calling him Americano, and his name is River. Dr. River Penna. And I keep calling him that, but that's what they call him because that's the drink he could always get at the coffee shop. And that was like their joke. So my bad. I kept the joke going. But yeah,
that's a good excuse.
So River, he's like, yeah, I agree, whatever. So of course they go on a couple dates. There's chemistry there. She's like, is it chemistry because we both know we're at 98, you know, a 98% match? And it's, you know, this is what we're supposed to be feeling? Or is it like legit, like we really like each other for liking each other kind of thing? So they're on the fence about it. There's obviously chemistry. There's good banter. like I said, there's spice, but it isn't detailed. It's more like, oh, he touched me here, there, whatever, but it's nothing like smutty.
Yeah.
And obviously with any romance, there's going to be, you know, a climax and a disaster that happens.
Drama.
So at first I thought the drama was going to be from her mom, like her mom finding out, oh, she's dating someone rich and she was going to come and get the money, and or she was going to, you know, tell the press like, oh, she's getting paid for this. And it wasn't even that. So one day they're doing an interview at the lab, and they were going to do one of the interviews in River's office. So they were like, you know, Jess, we don't need you right now, but we'll put you in an office and, you know, you can just chill out. And she was like, oh, this is perfect. I could get some work done. No worries. Just call me when you need me. So they put her in his partner's office, and all the data sheets like are all over the table. And, you know, she loves to analyze things. She loves numbers. And she happens to notice that it's her and River's file. And lo and behold, someone like finagled their numbers. Yeah. Oh, no. So exactly what you're feeling, she's feeling.
Oh my God.
She's like, oh my God, has this all been a joke? Like, did they do this as, you know, a stunt to get, you know, people to buy their product? Did River play me? Has he been lying to me this whole time? She was like, maybe, you know, there's a mistake, and she's going over these numbers over and over. And like, she's like, oh my God, like, no, someone fucked with the data. So she's devastated. And that very same day that she found out was the day he told her he loved her.
Oh.
Yes. So she's really like, sad. Yeah. So she's devastated. He comes to get her, and automatically he knows like something's off between her. And she was like, I can't talk about it right now. Obviously, we have to finish these interviews, but we will talk about it. So then they finally do talk about it, and he's blindsided. He did not know this happened. He doesn't know how it happened, and he's like distraught. He's just like standoffish, and obviously she's feeling like it's her. She's like, oh, it's because he knows we might not be compatible. So maybe in his mind, he's like, oh, I'm with a 98. I'm supposed to be with her. But now that this could be false information, maybe, you know, I'm not supposed to be with her, kind of thing. So she doesn't know how he's feeling. Obviously, there's miscommunication because he's not explaining what he's really feeling. And what he's really feeling is like, I dedicated my life to this, and my partner and maybe other people have been fucking with it without my knowledge. And then he's like, if they messed with mine, did they mess with all these other people? Like, there's people who've gotten married with, you know, the samplings that they've done, and, you know, have been in relationships. And he's like, how much of this is true? But he winds up spending like time redoing all of the data for all of these people, and his was the only one that they fucked around with. So his shit is true, whatever. He does find out their numbers. Obviously, they, you know, he comes back around and he explains to her, you know, I don't want us to break up. I do love you. I love your daughter. I love being with you guys. Like, you know, the number doesn't matter. And she was like, well, did you run the numbers? And he, you know, he's like, yeah, of course I did. But he's no longer in the system anymore, but he ran the numbers. I'm not going to say whether or not.
I was like, oh, what was it?
No, I'm not going to say whether or not, because I want to keep some of it, you know, unknown. you know, in the beginning, she's like, I don't want to know kind of thing. So I'm not going to tell if you ever find out what their numbers are. But yeah, they wind up coming back together. He explains the situation, why he left, why he was so distraught. And she was like, well, are you going to do this every time, you know, there's a work hiccup? You're just going to leave me here? And he was like, you have to understand, I haven't dated for years. I've dedicated my life to my work. And he went into work mode and he forgot what it was like to share the load with someone else, you know, or have someone that he can go to, you know, talk things through. So, you know, he apologizes and then she tells him, you know, that's not an excuse. And, you know, I have feelings and you not only did you leave me, you left my daughter too, you know, and she's been asking about you. And like every time she asked, you know, it kind of like broke her heart because they had like a really, really cute relationship. So she was like, you know, you can't do that. And if you are going to continue to do that, I can't continue to do this kind of thing. But of course, happy ending. But yeah, I've never come across, like, it was so different where it was, you know, their DNA matching you. And, you know, the premise of it is kind of like, well, if you can find out where your DNA came from, is there a genetic quality to attraction and compatibility? It had me thinking like, and then I haven't, you know me, I'm always asking Angel, what if? So I was like, what if you could, and I asked him, I was like, what if you could find out through DNA, you know, if your soulmate or someone you're super compatible with, would you do it? He was like, yeah. And I was like, but you're with me. What if it's not me? What if it's not me? He was like, well, I'm already married to you. We have 2 kids. Like, why would I need to go look anyway? I was like, I guess, but you would want to know. He was like, I don't know. He was like, stop asking me these questions.
Oh my God. I wouldn't want to know.
I would want to know too.
I would want to know if I wasn't married. If I was married, then I don't want to know.
You wouldn't want to know if you and Mike were compatible though, or what your numbers were, or how compatible?
Mm-mm.
Why not? You're already married. You already have children.
Yeah, but what
would that change?
I guess for me, it's like, why would you always wonder if there was somebody else out there that was 100% to you, and that's the person you're, you know, because divorces happen all the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't want any of that in my byline. Nothing. No, because you're married, so you're in love with the person, and so it doesn't matter.
Why ruin it?
Single, yeah. If you're single, then go for it.
That's true. I'm nosy though. I'll be like, I would be like, you know, we have kids, we're married, we're both happy, like we're both, you know, good in our relationship. I would love to know, is it because we have like a good number, or is it because I don't know?
And then what if the number is really low with you two? Yeah, exactly. See, do you want to deal with that?
Yeah. You're right.
I wouldn't want to.
Yeah, but that was my book. I loved it. It was really good. It was different.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So again, that was The Soulmate Equation by Christinalauren.
All right. So mine is a dark fantasy Norse mythology retelling, and it's called The Goddess of Nothing at All by Cat Rector. I keep, every time I like talk about her or post her, I say Rector, and I don't know why. Rector, Cat Rector. So anyway, there are a lot of trigger warnings with this book.
Okay.
I'll mention them. So some of them now. So there's death, mental abuse, sexual abuse. There's like gruesome scenes, violence, negative language towards LGBTQ. Like there's a shit ton of trigger warnings, and there's way more than what I just mentioned. But this book definitely is a top read for me.
Okay.
And it's a debut book for this author.
Oh, wow.
I know. And it came out a year ago, and I read it because I found her, like I stumbled upon her on TikTok, and she was doing arcs. I know, it's the fucking TikToks. Mm-hmm. So she was doing arcs for book 2, and I was like, oh, it seems interesting. So I looked up book 1 and fell in love with it. So I ended up getting the arc for book 2. So, like I said, it's a Norse mythology retelling, and it's about Sigyn and Loki, which I was like, all right, so you and I are both Marvel fans, so we know about Loki and all that stuff. I pictured Loki in my brain throughout this whole book, but this is not what Loki actually looks like in this story, just so you know. But I did picture Loki in my brain. So it's told through the point of view of Sigyn, and it's throughout decades of her life, like years and years and years from when she first met Loki till the end. And it really focuses around her struggles on being seen and wanting to be an actual goddess. So she's Odin's daughter, and Loki is just another god in this realm. So all of her brothers, like Thor and Hod and everybody has like a title. They're the god of something, and she has yet to be given a title. So she's really just a goddess of nothing at this moment. And Odin's keeps telling her that she's not ready to be a goddess of something. So he doesn't want to give her a title. And we don't know why. We get like little like glimpses throughout the book, like of a prophecy. So we know that he's keeping this from her because of a prophecy, but we don't know why yet. So at this point, she's old enough and she's tired of not having a title, and she wants to be a goddess of something. So her best friend, Idun, tells her, go see Loki and see if he has any advice for you. Loki, at this point, is exiled. No one likes him. You know, he's the god of lies, trickery, mischief. So he's been exiled, and nobody's seen him forever, except Idun. She's the only one that goes to visit him in his little cabin. So she goes to Loki and asks him for help. And he's like, I'll try to help you, but I don't know what I can do. So they basically beg Odin to let Loki train Sigyn to basically prove herself so that she can be a goddess of something. So they train for a long time, and it kind of fast forwards a little bit, and it brings her to the point where she's ready to like display her skills and all the power that she's learned. She has magic and all that. So she displays what she's learned with Loki there, and Odin's like, still, I'm not going to give you a title. So throughout this book, like up until you're reading to that point, you know that like Sigyn is all about wanting to like be seen, respected. Like that's like the theme of the book. Like, I want to be something. So after all of this hard work of weeks and weeks and weeks of training, he's just like, no, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to give you a title. So Loki's the only one there for her. He's comforting her and like basically telling her that, you know, she's worth something. He sees her. So we get to kind of see like their balance of Loki and Sigyn, of how although he's like this goddess of or god of lies, and he does all this bad shit, she's like the nice one and trying to be like a good person to get a title, and he has a title and he's terrible. Right. And she doesn't have a title. But anyway, so he's constantly doing things like that, like to piss people off. So that brings us to, So that brings us to a point where we're starting to see, like, is Loki really good for her? Because she's starting to fall for him, right? So they're spending all this time together. He's been training her, and she's starting to fall for him. He's falling for her. So that brings us to a point where we're starting to see, like, is Loki really good for her? Because she's starting to fall for him, right? So they're spending all this time together. He's been training her, and she's starting to fall for him. He's falling for her, but he's doing stupid shit. Like, one day he walks by Thor's wife. Thor's wife says something terrible to him because, like I said, nobody likes him. He ends up cutting her hair. So that's like, I know, that's like her like number one like feature, and everybody loves it. He ends up cutting her hair. He's punished by Thor afterwards. And then there's another point in this. Yeah, there's another point in the story where like there's another goddess there who really doesn't like him, and she's always very attitudey towards him. He ends up shifting into a cat. He's a shifter, so he can change into whatever. He ends up shifting into a cat, and this girl that doesn't like him sees the cat, but she doesn't know it's Loki. So she's like petting it and hugging it and like basically showing this cat love, not knowing that it's Loki until he like shifts back into himself and falls on her lap. So like the whole first quarter of the book is like this, like him showing like his true colors, like how mischievous he is and how much people don't like him for it. But because Sigyn is starting to fall for him, they're starting to like group her with him. So even though before this, like they were still treating her like shit, like she was nobody, they didn't really respect her. It's even worse now because they're sort of kind of like in the same sites together because they're friends now. So this is kind of like beating her down at some point, and she's just like, she feels terrible. She's struggling between like wanting to be with him and be close to him, but trying to really find herself. And after he does like all of this stuff, like all this like mischief, there are some scenes in here, like every time he's punished, like Thor beats him like almost to death. And that's where the gruesome scenes come from. So that kind of shows like where he is and his mischief and him getting beaten down, and then Sigyn coming in, helping him, healing him. And there's like a trend, like it's always like that, back and forth, back and forth. So one day they're caught kissing. So this one goddess tells her father, you know, they're kissing, they're together. So Odin forbids it. He's like, you can't do that. You can't be together. He's awful. We'll just send him away again. His wife is like, no, you have to let this happen, remember? So we know that there's, again, a prophecy out there that's kind of has to do with them, but we still don't know what this is.
What it is.
Yeah. So fast forward years and years, she ends up getting pregnant. They get married. All of this is happening. One day, this guy comes over and is like, I want to marry someone in your court. I'll build a wall for you around your court to protect everyone, because the main thing in this book is, one, Odin knows that there's a prophecy out there. This prophecy is kind of a negative thing towards him, but we still don't know what it is. And there's also Ragnarok. So Ragnarok is the end of everything, pretty much. So this guy comes, he's like, I want to marry this goddess Freya. Give me her hand and I'll build this wall for you to protect you. So they built this wall, and he was like, you have to get it done in 6 months or you can't have her. So Odin, like his usual things, because I'm skipping like a lot of parts. So his usual thing is asking Loki for advice. So he asked Loki for advice so that when it fails, he can blame Loki for it, pretty much. So when this guy comes and asks for this lady's hand in marriage and that he'll build a wall, Loki's like, well, just do it. It's just him and his horse. How can he build an entire wall in this amount of time? So Odin's like, fine, go for it. Fast forward, this guy is like almost done with this wall and they don't know why. And they finally realize that his horse that he has is like this magical horse that is actually the one building the wall and not this guy. So Loki.
You look stressed.
Oh my God. This was the absolute funniest moment. Like, so this entire book, the reason I love it so much is because, one, because it's Loki and I love Loki, but two, there are so many moments that I laughed like literally out loud, like outright laughing. And there are moments that I was like gut-wrenching sad and crying out of this book. So this moment, Loki's like, all right, so I'll see what I can do. He goes out to this guy, goes missing for 8 months. We don't see him. He shows up back with Sigyn, and he's like, well, what I had to do was turn into a horse to lure this horse away from this guy and from this wall so that he wouldn't finish the wall and then wouldn't finish on time.
Mm-hmm.
So he turned into a female horse and ends up getting pregnant by this horse. So he shows up in Sigyn's house with a baby horse, who's his son now. Tell me why. Like, I fucking died. I was like, where the hell did he get this 8-legged horse from? And it was his fucking son, because he had sex with a horse, as a horse. And he couldn't come back because he couldn't shapeshift back into himself because he didn't know what would happen to him or his now baby.
His horse baby.
His horse baby. Yes, it's important to note that Loki is sort of the author didn't label him this way, like non-binary, but he wanted to be called a she when he shapeshifted into a she. Like he didn't like labels really. Like he was just like free and open and everything.
Yeah, obviously he could have shapeshifted into like a male horse, and he was like, nah, female.
No, it was a female horse. So anyway,
that's great.
And got pregnant, yes. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. And there's a lot that happens after this. Like there's like struggles between him and Sigyn, and there's another woman involved at some point. Eventually he has a total of like, I don't know, 4, maybe 5 kids between him, this other woman, and then the horse. So then we're getting close to the end, like Ragnarok, and getting close to the prophecy, because the prophecy has a lot to do with Sigyn, Loki, and his kids. But still at this point, we really don't know much about it. So Odin decides he's just going to punish everyone. He wants to get rid of everyone, make it easy for himself, and be done with it. And he decides to punish Loki and Sigyn mainly, takes them to a cave. And I don't think I want to say what he does in this cave because it's a really big scene. And this is the first book ever that has made me outright, like I'm getting like choked up just thinking about it. So I literally outright sobbed, like loudly. It was awful. And it wasn't like awful, like people will be triggered by this. It's not, it's just something that happens that like is so fucking sad. And I can't believe she wrote that into the book, but it was so perfect and sad at the same time. So anyway, then it comes down to Ragnarok. They get out and there's this big war that happens. So not only are they trying to fight each other, like everyone, they're fighting to stay alive through this whole like end of the world type thing. Okay. So yeah, that's book 1. I swear, if I didn't explain it well, it's a really good fucking book.
So this is going to be a series.
So there's 2 books.
Oh, there's 2 books. So yeah, duology.
So the Goddess of Nothing at All was that one. And then the second book is Epilogue for Lost Gods. And that one is exactly what the title says it is. It's literally an epilogue to the first book. But it's in like a 200-page book, but it's wrapping everything up. So it's basically like everything you want at the end of a book, like your novellas or whatever, wrapped up into one little book.
So do you find out the prophecy and all that?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a huge book, and there's so many things that happen that I didn't mention because I just can't go into that big of a detail for this book. Right. But it's so freaking good. It's absolutely amazing, and I loved it. Yeah, I know. And the second book is an arc. It's not out yet. It's comes out November 15th, I believe. I think she bumped up the date.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's really good. And like I said, it's just like an epilogue of the first book.
And you said this was like a debut book, right? Like her first? Wow.
And I love it. I'll read it again.
to get all those emotions out of a book like that doesn't usually happen with someone's first book, you know?
It doesn't usually happen with me when I'm reading a book. Like, I'm not like, I get like, oh, that's sad, or oh, that's good, that's happy. Like this one, like I felt it. Like she got so many good points, so many good emotions throughout this whole entire book. And she's great. I loved it.
Yeah. I've never like, there's maybe 2 books that I can distinctly remember like sobbing for. Just 2. Like legit, like had to put the book away, like had to take a break. So I love books that can like give you that much emotion, because to me that's like perfect writing. That's like top tier. Like if you could make me sob, yeah, you got me.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to read a book that makes me cry. But it did.
I feel like everyone should get a good crying book, though.
I guess.
But sometimes you need a good cry. I mean, it could be good tears. It doesn't have to be because of something sad.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
It could be good tears. But yeah, that sounds freaking amazing.
It's a jam-packed book, but I swear it's really good. I probably didn't explain it really well, but it's so good.
Me. So did you get it on like Kindle, or was it like a physical book?
I got the Kindle, but I'm definitely gonna buy it when the other one comes out. I'll buy both.
I want to see. I'm gonna have to look it up and like really see what the cover looks like. But yeah. Yay. Look, stress after that.
I was so stressed reading that book, and I still think about it, and I'm mad that no one I know in real life has read it to talk about it
in real life,
not online.
Oh, I'm like, you in a fake life,
like real like you work with the read.
No, I get it, because you do build like that little book community, so it's like I can talk about it with you, but like at home, like I want to be able to talk about it too.
No, it's too bad.
Sometimes I feel that way with Angel, and I'm like, oh my god, this book is so good, and but he gets glossy-eyed.
I know. Mike listens, but I don't know if he truly listens. He was actually sitting on the other couch while I was reading this book and started crying. He looked over, he was like, oh shit, you're actually crying? I was like, yes.
Oh my god, bad. He would never let me live that down.
Oh my god.
He see me like laugh. I think I cried during a book with him one time, and he was like, what's going on? He was so confused. He doesn't understand that. Like, how can a book make you feel that way?
It really can. It's just like movies.
Yeah, basically. But he's not a crier either, so yeah. But thanks for sharing.
Oh,
I feel like welcome. It was like a weight lifted off of you a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of was, but I hope you read it, because I want to talk about it with somebody.
All right.
Anybody.
I'm gonna have to add it to the list.
I know. It's kind of a long book. So
Thanksgiving break is coming up, and I'm hoping I can get some time to actually, just read certain books. So fingers crossed.
Yeah.
That can happen in my life. And I don't get too busy. But thanks for sharing. Thanks to our listeners for listening. This was episode 6. So 2 weeks we should have another episode, but until then, enjoy, and until next time, bye.